Welcome to another episode of The Wandering Watercolor. Let's get started. Today we are painting the fourth page of the forest scenery watercolor coloring book that I make. The paper that I use is actual 140 pound cold pressed watercolor paper, and as I'm sure anyone that watercolors understands the importance of the paper, just because if you use anything else, it won't look right, and it'll buckle and bleed through. Sorry, I'm just adjusting my microphone here. There we go. As always, you need a brush, somewhere to mix your colors. This is just a soap dish, porcelain soap dish, or a porcelain plate works just as well. Preferably something white so you can see the colors as you're mixing them. I have 2 jars of water on the side, a rag or paper towel, anything like that works. And then a palette. So this is just the Prang mini watercolor palette. This one is also a really good palette, the Crayola Educator set. I like this one because it's actually really affordable, and the colors are actually pretty vibrant, and it comes with a little detail brush if you want to do some details. But other than that, we can go ahead and get started. So obviously, this one is an owl that's sitting on a stump, and it's on the outside. So what we'll do is we're going to do an initial layer. There's going to be a lot of green. Obviously, it's a forest scenery. And so we'll start by getting a bunch of the yellow green. And if you don't have this color, or if you're using a different palette, just get some green and yellow and mix it together. Pretty straightforward. A lot of people think that they need really professional, high quality, expensive paint. That's just not the case. It's the number one thing is the paper. You have to have good quality paper. Okay, so we'll first start off by adding in. Now you can tell that this is a concentrated color that I'm laying down here at the front. And then put down some color here. Try to avoid some of the flower heads, maybe some of the ferns. I'm going to avoid those. But even if I cover them, I can always add more detail later by layering, so it's not that big of a deal. And so I'm just kind of filling in, adding those details, and I'm gonna push this to right about there, and same on this side. You want to lay in those details and wet your brush, or rinse it I should say, and you have more water, and then just pull out a lot of that color. And don't worry about covering the details. We can fix that later. So basically, I'm diluting and fading it out towards the background, and then doing the same thing again, wetting my brush and then fading it out even more as we go towards the end of the middle ground. So that's good, like that. Rinse my brush. The next thing I want to do is address this kind of tree line that's in the back here, a little past the middle ground. I'm going to grab some of the teal color, and the way you do that is just mix green and blue and play around with the ratios, but I'm going to have it leaning more towards the green, so it's kind of like a teal, yellow, green kind of color. This is what I will use for the background tree line here. Like this. And you can tell I used more water, but enough of the pigment is in there to kind of establish that color. I'm gonna rinse that. And while all of this is drying, it's okay if it blends over here a little bit. While everything is drying, then I'm gonna grab the brown. Sorry, I'm having some difficulty with my microphone today. I'm not liking how it's adjusted, so I keep moving it around. Okay. So basically, I'm grabbing a bunch of the brown. And I'll start by, so there's moss on this stump. And so I'm going to kind of just add the brown where I think the darkest spots might be. And even if I'm covering some of the plants that are in front of it, it's not a big deal. I'll do that. Just applying that to the darkest parts. Maybe adding some texture here and there. Kind of going in here, like that. I'm doing the same over here. And again, trying to avoid some of the little mushrooms and plants. Even though if you do end up painting in them, that's fine. There we go, like that. And like that. Shuffling that in here. Now you can tell that the colors that I'm putting in here, they're much more opaque because they're more saturated with paint. And I'm doing that intentionally because I do want to separate the stump and the plants and the owl that are in the foreground. I do want them to be separated enough from the background to where even though they're all in the same place, the emphasis, the point of focus is on those elements. Okay, now I'm just gonna rinse my brush, and there's still a little bit of paint on the brush, but I can go in and kind of fill in the rest here. I'm gonna dry off a little bit and then fill in and try to stay out of some of the other details that I want to emphasize later, like the mushrooms and the moss. Okay, like that. There we go. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm rinsing my brush. Okay. So next, I'll grab some of the forest green or emerald green, whatever you want to call it. I'm gonna grab that and apply that in areas that are for the moss that's on the stump. And you can see I'm applying where I think the shadow would fall. Like that. Okay. Also over here. And then maybe back here a little bit like that. There we go. I rinse my brush. There's still a little bit of color on the brush, but then I can pull out some of that what I already put on there. Like that. Over here. And you know what? I'll grab some of the color that I pre-made here and then just put it on the ground. There we go. Rinse my brush. And grab some more of that color, that tree color, and add a little water to it so that I can go ahead and fill in here in the back. this tree. I'm adding it more towards the parts that I imagine to be darker. Like that. A little bit here, just a little bit of texture. And same for this one right here. And rinse my brush. Kind of fade out some of that color. Use that faded color for the tree that's further back. And do the same over here. Like that. And there we go. So the next thing that we want to do is start laying in some color for the owl. So first, the horned owls are very interesting, very beautiful creatures, and you can go a couple of ways to emphasize whatever colors you're, wanting to emphasize. Obviously, there's a lot of brown. There's also some yellow, kind of like an earthy yellow orange to parts of them. And so here's how I'm going to do that. First, I mixed a little bit of orange with a little bit of yellow, and if you don't have orange, just add a little bit of red. And what I'll do is I'm going to lay that in here, kind of here, around the face a little bit, like that. A lot of the darker markings are already taken care of by the line work that I've put in. So like that, okay. So next I'm going to fade that out, fade this out, fade that out that way. Rinse my brush, and then I'm going to grab a good amount of yellow and just kind of lay that into the front. Definitely where the beak is, around the eyes here. All of that. Like that. Okay. There we go. That's some of it. I'm rinsing my brush, drying it off, and then with the dried off brush, I'm going to pick up some of that color over here in the front. There we go, like that. And also up here, like that. I'm rinse my brush, dry it off, and I'm going to pick up some of that color on the top that I accidentally went in there. Okay, I'm going to let that dry. When I come back to it, I'll add a lot more. So now I'm going to grab some orange or yellow and red if you don't have orange, and mix it in with some brown. And then I'm going to add this down here. Make it look a lot more organic and more vibrant. Frankly, it makes it look, when you add these variations of colors that are close to one another, it really helps not only make it look more vibrant, just make it look more alive, because in nature there's rarely anything that's just one color, because there's so many different elements that are intertwining with one another. So doing things like this really helps bring out the depth of not just texture and lighting, but also color. Like that. I'm going to rinse my brush, and I'm going to grab some more pure orange and put it where these mushrooms are. As you can tell, there's a bunch of mushrooms here. Like that. Like that. A mushroom down here. Maybe a little one here. And over here. I'm gonna rinse my brush and then kind of fade out some of those colors. Like that. I rinse my brush again. And now while all of that is drying, I'm going to go ahead and grab some of the forest green or emerald green, whatever, darker green. Add a little bit of water. A little bit of brown. So I want it to be a little more earthy, darker color, and I'll use that down here for these plants that are right in front of the stump. So on the bottom here, I'm not really too worried about the details. I'm just filling them in, and then I'm getting a little more technical as I go up in front of the tree stump like that. Definitely down here. Okay. Like that. Okay. And same with the one back here. Now these marks that I'm laying down right now are lighter just because it becomes lighter as more of the paint leaves your brush. But that's fine. Just filling that in. There we go. And then also maybe just a few blades of grass, just a few brush strokes, a little variety. Looks good. Like that. Rinse my brush. And then just the green by itself, I'm going to grab a little more so that I can add more detail here to the moss. Just kind of like that. More shading. And also just kind of like some dots, just a little bit of variation of dots here and there. Not too much, not too little. Okay. Just kind of slowly adding that in. And over here, same thing. Okay. Rinse my brush. And now I'm going to grab more of the brown, mix it into that previous mixture so that I can add that to the owl. So first, I don't want to, there's a bit too much water. I want to make sure that it doesn't drip off of my brush. So I'm going to add first right here, making some marks for the horns part of the owl. A little bit back here like this. Just a very small, kind of like following the direction of the feathers, just creating some texture like that. Definitely back here a little more, like that, like that, like that. Almost just giving kind of like an outline of the feathers, like that. And then down here, going all the way back, but not completely, just a little bit, and maybe some strokes going across the body like that. And see how much more depth that added already. I'm gonna cover this. I'm gonna rinse my brush. And for now, I'm going to ignore the foreground as everything dries. I'm gonna grab some of the yellow green back here. I'll grab a little bit of the teal to mix in with it. Not too much, just a little. Need more water, make sure there's plenty of paint. And so what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna fill in this like this. And then same with the one that's closer to the foreground. And honestly, I'm just gonna fill it in completely like this. And I can add different details after it's dry. I want to fill that in and then rinse my brush a little bit and then kind of draw out the color up here to give it a nice fade. Rinse the brush. Next, I'm going to grab the dark blue and mix it in with the brown down here. The dark blue, it's kind of like a gray when you mix the blue and the brown. And I'm going to use that to create the color of the mountains in the background. So I'm just going to lay that down on one side. Maybe a little bit of a mark over here like that. And back here as well. And then rinse my brush and then pull out the rest of it. Dry it a little bit, pull out the rest of it like that. So it gives that transition effect. I'm gonna rinse my brush. And next, I'm gonna grab a little more of that darker green that we mixed up here. And I'm just gonna layer it in down here. Honestly, I'll probably need a little more brown. I wanna darken it up a bit and a little more green. Now using these two, I can go ahead and add more contrast down here, and it'll help with separating this the front shrub in front of the stump from the stump. It'll just help create a little more definition like that. I'm gonna rinse my brush. Next, I want to go ahead and grab, I'm going to clean up my yellow here because I got another color in it. I think I got a little bit of brown in it. So now I'm going to get a good concentration of yellow. And I'm going to use this concentration for the eyes. And it's just going to be a pure concentration of yellow. Go very slowly. There we go. I'll grab some brown and then go back in to the background here just a little. Maybe that's too strong of a color. I'm gonna add more water and then that's better. It's a little more transparent. I'm just gonna add a little more like that. And same back here like this. There we go. Rinse my brush. And next, I'll actually grab clean little soap dish, just because I'm running out of space. Rinse my brush. Grab some of the light blue. And that is what I'll use for the sky. I'm gonna go like this. And I just imagine that there's some clouds in the background. Just leaving random openings for where the clouds would be. It does not have to be anything in particular, just kind of like where you think a cloud might be, just leave kind of like a random open space like I did over here. And then maybe a little one over here, like that, and filling all that in. There we go. I'm gonna rinse my brush and then just kind of soften up some of those edges, just so it's not so, outlined. There we go. I'm gonna rinse my brush. And I want to grab more of the yellow green. And I'm going to grab a little bit of the brown so that we have a color to add as a shading to the trees over here. So like this. This is perfect. Kind of randomly moving the brush, using mostly the tip of the brush to create kind of a sporadic layering or marks for the texture of the tree. Just a couple of dots here and there like that. And same thing over here. Just creating that shadow. Like that. Like that. There we go. I'm going to step back for a moment just to take a look. It's always good to get the perspective of stepping back for a minute. So I actually really like how all this looks, and I think we're pretty much done, but I don't like how dark the beak looks right here. So I'm just gonna, with a brush that's rinsed, I'm gonna rinse it again and dry it off a little bit. There's still moisture in the brush, but I'm gonna just rub a little bit right there. I'm gonna dry it off and then kind of do one of these numbers just to make it a little cleaner right there. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. I think I'm done with this one. Okay, so that was it for that one. It took roughly 30 minutes. At any point, if you have questions, just shoot me a message, leave a comment, and I will leave all the details of everything in the description. And I appreciate you for painting with me. I will see you next time.